All right, so this is a part two to my research into candle health. You can check out the first video on this YouTube page somewhere. So this is part two. This is an update on some more information I got from some of the big candle companies, so on and so forth, some more specific information. So I've been talking back and forth with Kringle, and basically another candle reviewer online told me that the owner of Kringle Candles said to her that they don't use parabens and phthalates. But then I contacted the customer service and then kind of the candle testing department of Kringle, and they said they have used parabens and phthalates in certain candles. So there was a contradiction there. So I'm like, well, what the hell's going on? So I continually contacted Kringle. And by the way, when there are different emails. It starts with the word new to get directly to the people that are like doing the candle work. So you don't have to go up levels. Customer service is probably the worst way to get in. But the best way I have found is actually to fill out the contact form on the Kringle website, not direct email links. So anyways, I go back and forth with them. And finally I say, listen, tell me what candles have these hormone disrupting chemicals that could be carcinogenic, that can be, let me know, because it's a little bit fishy since you guys don't even mention it on your website. So they finally get back to me. We were going, kind of going back and forth and waiting a couple days, waited over this past weekend, just now. And they got back to me and they said, we went through your entire purchase history for Kringle. I was like, wow. And they said, none of those candles that you have purchased, which are primarily Halloween and fall candles, none of those candles that you have purchased contain these harsh chemicals that we're mentioning, phthalates and parabens. By the way, phthalates, I don't know if I'm pronouncing them correctly, but they are specific to fragrance. Any products with fragrance. Parabens are not really something that are used, from what I have researched, in candles. Parabens would be something that would be used more maybe in shampoo products or soaps, things like that. Okay. Regardless, they said that we went through your whole history. I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive, because I've only purchased 3 candles from Kringle. No, I'm joking. I've purchased an embarrassing amount over the years, or over the past day. Anyways, so I said, okay, and they said our candles that had those chemicals were part of a limited edition line in 2020. Interesting. Now, what this and they said we've since stopped that, and we do not use those chemicals anymore. Okay, number one, that's a little it's a little bit disheartening, because it's like, well, depending on the line you're buying, you would have never known in 2020. You would have never known. But the thing that really gets to me is that Kringle, if they're so against these harsh chemicals, they don't mention it on their website. There's nothing about ingredients at all, just generic terminology, and there's nothing about these chemicals on the website at all. Okay. So you don't even list anything about ingredients. You don't list anything about the fact that you're not using these harsh chemicals. So if you're not listing that, to me, it means you're not holding fast to it, that there could be some openness depending on the scent, depending on the line. Like, it's not something you can hold yourself accountable to. Do you see what I'm saying? Whereas, companies like Lunar Light or Bat's Breath, or even there's this other company, Caramel Sundays, that I found, they also really, they put it on the site. They hold fast to it. Now, here's another update. Ever since I spoke to Yankee some time ago, Yankee has changed, they changed their appearance and their wax and all this kind of stuff. But now you can find if you look a bit on each candle, you can find like kind of a statement that says, a statement about phthalates and parabens. Okay. But there's a mysterious word for Yankee, and they say no added parabens or phthalates. That word is important. They said no added harsh possibly carcinogenic chemicals. No added. I don't like that. Somebody with diseases and health issues. So this links to the Goose Creek answer that I got, which was, we don't put any additional phthalates or parabens in our products. We can't speak for the other suppliers for our products, but we don't put added ones in. Well, see, that's the whole point, right? Because the word fragrance, which is in an ingredient for a candle or soap or a shampoo or a conditioner or a lotion, seeping into the biggest organ of your body, or into your lungs. That's the issue. The word fragrance can include up to like 3,000 different chemicals from all different sources. Bath and Body Works never got back to me. They're the only company, as you saw in the first video, that never got back to me. And they have some pretty messed up ingredients that even other candle companies don't even mention. You can watch that first video. And they've had some claims against them, through the years. So this is where we're at with kind of the bigger candle companies, Kringle, Goose Creek, Yankee, Bath and Body Works. One thing I mentioned to all the companies was a news article, and that news article kind of came out about a year ago, I think. It was Newsweek, all different news outlets, about some scientists test the VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds, so tiny they just kind of seep into your lungs, released by any scents, like even the scent of a rose, a natural flower. Okay. And they tested wax melts from some candle company, and they said that the VOCs for a wax melt could actually be more intense than for a candle, because wax melts can be more intensified in the fragrance oils because you don't have to burn it. And I asked all the companies to respond to that article, and they all said, listen, we test our candles for performance, but we don't test them for VOCs or they don't test their candles for what they emit in the air. That's what they said to me. But they also said, we can't respond to this article because, every situation is different. And rightfully so, this was one test. And rightfully so, I have a VOC tester in my house. And so I have literally, done wax melts or a candle or scooped my candle and put it in a warmer, blah, 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 and tested for VOCs and didn't find substantials at all, except when I burn the candle. When I burn the candle and there's just a little tiny bit of unrecognizable soot, like a little wisp every once in a while, that brings up the VOCs. One thing that I said this before, the candle companies will kind of hide behind, and Goose Creek kind of did this in their message to me. They said, we want to let you know that we are following all the rules of the IFRA, which is like the candle, like some candle association or something. And we have lead-free wicks, and I'm like, okay, first off, lead-free wicks were made illegal, years ago. But they'll just say, we're following all the rules of the, IFRA, okay, but here's the problem. And I'll leave my research here, okay? The problem is that you can't depend on other people. You can't depend on the FDA. The FDA has made some mistakes. Have you ever looked at drug commercials on our TVs? Like, have you looked at the side effects to those drugs that the FDA has approved? But you can't depend on corporations or even other people to make you feel safe. Okay, you know how I know that? Because you can buy a bag of Cheetos, at the grocery store, and that is approved. And there is Cheetos are not great for you. We just had some red dyes that were made illegal. In other countries, there are elements in our food that are illegal that we have just been using. So who are we trusting exactly, right? And I think the bottom line is, if you want something trustworthy, yes, it's probably marketable today to say, oh, we don't have phthalates or parabens, and, we have 100% soy wax and blah, blah, blah. Of course, that's marketable. It's marketable the way Fresh Fields is marketable to, all the trendy health food community. Remember when veganism was really, kind of cool? Well, now being a carnivore is cool. So it's like, what the hell, it's kind of going on. But the bottom line is, it seems that the mom and pop candle companies are hands down the most transparent. Okay? They're the most transparent, and they seem to be the most health conscious as well. The mom and pop candle companies. And they seem to be the most consistent and the most accountable. So, when I spoke to the owner of Lunar Light Candles, she said, I've had health problems myself from some of the big wig candle companies. And so I sought out making sure to make candles that were free from the harsher synthetic chemicals. Okay. So there we go. So that's the conclusion for this candle research. You have to take matters into your own hands, and you have to question. Questioning is so important. Like I always say, and I have a video on here about diving into the movie Rosemary's Baby, so check it out if you're interested in this topic a bit. I always say, if you're in a situation in life where you're not allowed to question, that is a bad relationship to be in, or a bad place to be in. Red flag. And if you question, everything should be able to be questioned. Now, there might not be answers for everything. Life is not black and white. And sometimes the answer is, I don't know, right? But you should still be allowed to question. If you're ever in an environment where you're not allowed to question, even if that's your own body, get out of that. I don't want to question. I don't want to know, because then I might have to sell my whole collection, or I might have to get rid of things, or I might have to change my life. Get out of that, okay? Because ultimately, you want to be able to sleep at night, okay? So make this, like what I've been trying to do with my health is try to make decisions that, benefit me, because I have a lot of issues. I have a lot of health issues, and I don't want to exacerbate them. So take this knowledge as you will. I love scented candles. I'm using scented candles, but I'm using my own research in the process. And I hope this was helpful to you as well as the part 2 video. If there are ever any other updates that I get to, I will let you know. But it seems like my questioning actually did do something kind of with the Yankee website. But it's not very pleasing with that word added. It's like, check your words and focus on them. They mean something. You look at words mean something when a company is held accountable to them. right? Happy Halloween.